And just like that, we are back for round 3 of the Formula One World Championship. And this week, it's one of my favorite tracks ever, Suzuka in Japan. And as you can see, I'm holding my mic like a pint. Well, the reason is because when I keep it down, you can't hear me properly if I just sit back, or even if I come up close, it's a bit distorted. So, hold it closer and it works. So that's what I'm going to do. But also, I'm trying out something new with a template, with these like race prediction videos, race reviews, post-race reviews, that kind of a thing. So I'm going to be using this template. So let me know what you think about it in the comments below once you've seen the whole thing. And appreciate you if you've watched the whole thing. But Japan's going to be a hitter. It's a heavy hitter. Most of the drivers love it. It's such a free-flowing, iconic track, right? With the center S's, the long straights, the flat turn 15, which is called 130R. Amazing track. But before we get into Japan, let's do a quick recap of round 2, which was in China. Now, a very special win for a very special driver, Kimi Antonelli, taking his first Formula One win at the age of 19. This bloke's 19. How good. How good from him. Like, it was such a mature drive. He had to fight Lewis at the beginning because Lewis took the lead, but he had to make over, and he did it blissfully. It was so nice. George Russell, P2, it was more damage control for George. He struggled during quali, had some mechanical issues in the car, and didn't qualify where he wanted to. Otherwise, I think he was in the prime. And even, to be fair, I thought George would still be in a chance to win the race, and I think he was. But Kimi just drove so brilliantly, and then George basically had to fight Charles and Lewis, which is what allowed Kimi to, make that gap, bridge that gap, or develop a gap. What am I saying? Develop a gap and take that lead and, win from there. But very, very mature from Kimi. With Kimi, going back to Kimi actually, the team radio, Toto Wolff at the end, where he said, like, everyone, excuse me, everyone told him that he's too young, he's too immature, too naive. Get a more experienced driver in, and voila, victory. So Kimi delivered, and it just means so much when you see the drivers super emotional at the end. The bloke cried, so fair play to Kimi. I think he was amazing. And then George P2, obviously, and Lewis Hamilton P3. Now, the Ferrari duel was something to talk about, wasn't it? Holy, Leclerc and Hamilton, either of them could have been P3, but Lewis prevailed, and this is Lewis's first proper podium with Ferrari, and he had to wait over a year. Yes, he did win the sprint race in China last year, but it's a sprint race. It's not a proper Grand Prix, right? But I think for Lewis to do it in China, it was like a full circle moment. Lewis loves China. China loves Lewis. Team LH, they are based out of China. So all in all, great weekend. I think the track really suited the 2026 regulations, which is a concern I have for Japan. I don't know if the energy harvesting is going to be as good in Japan, and that could cause a bit more jeopardy and more like lifting off into certain corners. So we'll have to see. I'm not too sure. But on paper, Japan should not be as good as China for these regulations. But yeah, China was a great race. It gave us a good insight into the 2026 regs and how to race properly. So I'm super pumped for it. But let's look at Japan. Let's look at what the drivers are going to be dealing with this weekend in terms of the track, the circuit. 99% of the drivers, if not even 100%, love this track. It is fast. It is free-flowing. It is very technical and physical on the body. So it's got a bit of everything, right? It's a 53-lap race. You're going to have 18 turns, and the circuit length is 5.8 kilometers, so pretty standard. But yeah, some things to point out is in the first sector, sector 1, you have the famous center S's, right? From turns 3 to 7. It's just a snake, and it is a very technical part. But then when we get into, and iconic actually, but when we get into sector 2, which is from turn 8 into 9 and 10, 11 until 14, it is super technical. You got to be pretty good with your technique around those corners. and place your car properly and even just get a good feel of the car. So if you're not in sync with your car, it'll be very hard to, you need confidence. Drivers won't be able to trust their cars. So Sector 2, very technical. Sector 3, once you get onto turn 14, you go all the way to turn 15, which is called 130R, which I don't even think is a corner anymore because guys just go flat out. But I think Lewis Hamilton had a massive crash out of turn 15 in 2007, where I think he just literally T-boned a barrier, and like you could see him like wiggling his legs after the crash, just like, because he was so shook up. But yeah, that's a pretty small sector. But overall, this is the only circuit I think that has an overlap, which is of an 8-figure, at least this year. So Japan is amazing, great circuit. It's a great circuit to try on the video game as well if you have F1, EA Sports F1 now actually. To try it, lovely circuit. So yeah, but now let's think about what actually happened in last year's Japanese Grand Prix. Well, it was dominated by my favorite driver, Max Verstappen. It was unexpected. No one thought Max would come in, take pole position, and win. It was brilliant. The McLarens were super fast, but Max, for somehow, that qualifying lap last year from Max was incredible. For him to get pole, no one thought, and it was Honda's last race with Red Bull as well in Japan. Look at the irony of that right now, given where Honda are this year. We'll get into that shortly, but yeah, the famous white livery Red Bull with Verstappen in it, taking pole, and then converting that into a win. I never thought about it because I didn't think he could do it purely because the McLarens were rapid, but for some reason, Max really pulled it off. And I remember Norris and Verstappen pitted together, and on the pit exit, Verstappen had his nose just ahead, and Norris had to literally drive off the grass to get back on the track, and it was deemed fair because Verstappen was ahead at that point, but it was an insane race. And then there was this whole thing between Norris and Oscar, where Oscar was faster and could have potentially caught up to Max, but team orders in McLaren were pretty much in Norris's favor, where Norris stayed ahead. But I think if Piastri would have passed Norris, I don't know if Piastri could have won, but he would have definitely pressured Max a lot more than Lando did. So great race. It was awesome. Honda got there. Well, seems like it's going to be the last win for a little while at least, with Max Verstappen. But Max was on it that weekend. It was so incredible. But I don't know what's going to happen with Max this weekend. Oh my God. This weekend, because it's going to be difficult given the Red Bull. But I really hope because Max loves Suzuka, I just hope Red Bull turn it up this weekend. They were good in Australia. I just hope they can find that balance again. And the car was all over the place in China. I just hope they can find it back in Silverstone. Oh, not Silverstone. In Suzuka. My mind is going everywhere right now. I love Silverstone. Hey, that's my favorite circuit. But Lando finished P2, Oscar P3. Lando and Oscar, they didn't even start in China. Had a miserable weekend. Car was nowhere, even in Australia. They're kind of there or thereabouts, but not really at the same time. And Piastri has basically had, he's raced as many laps as I've this year. 0. Nil point. So Oscar's going to be, he's the least experienced of the 2026 regulations. And that's wild to think. He was a championship contender. And for Lando, I don't think he's winning the Drivers' Championship this year. So he's not going to retain it, unfortunately, unless McLaren finds something ridiculous over the season. But again, Formula One is a development war, right? That's where a lot of positions are made. So let's see. But Japan last year was good. The track, however, passing is very difficult. So qualifying becomes very, very, very important. So a lot of times, the places on track you could actually pass on are the front straight, right? into turn 1, then out of turn 14. That's where you could do it as well. And then even turn 11, that hairpin. So those are the 3 big ones, but a lot of it is strategy. So your overcut, your undercut, that's where positions are made in Japan. So it's going to be fascinating to see how it, 1, bodes to the 2026 regulations, and 2, what the strategies are going to be and who's going to put it on pole, essentially. But we have a lot of new liveries for this week. And to start off, Mercedes with the Adidas Y3 collection, actually on the front wing. And with the front wing of the Mercedes, let's talk about the livery first, but there is controversy now as well. And the livery, I think it's very interesting to see only a part of the car having a new livery. In this case, the front wing. The Wolf, however, I love it. And this pays homage to the Y3 Adidas collaboration that just came out. I've done a few reels on it. You can check my YouTube shorts on it, but also on my Instagram, my Twitter, my TikTok. Check it out. I love merch. I think the collection's pretty awesome. Super pricey, like unbelievably pricey. I'm based here in Canada, and I checked it out, and I think it was what was it? $360 for the hoodie, and I was like, bro, what? No, $460. And the t-shirts were $230, and I was like, bruh, what are you on about, mate? I'm not paying that. But at the same time, it looked good, it fit good. I tried it on as well, but did I buy it? Nope. I did not. But nonetheless, I think it looks cool. It'd be cool to see when it's in action, when the front wings, like the aero just lifts up, to see whether it like sort of squinches, or just like squints and goes into that sort of aggressive mode. I don't know, it could be. But going on to part 2 of this is the controversy. Now, Ferrari lodged a complaint to the FIA stating that the Mercedes front wing is illegal. So under braking it, from what I understand, it actually goes beyond a certain threshold that's allowed, which gives them that extra speed, a tenth or so, from what I read. Now that's going to be looked at by the FIA. I don't know if they're going to implement anything for this weekend, which I doubt, but let's see what will happen over the whole 1 month break that we're going to get after Japan. But they're definitely looking into it, and that'll be interesting. But nonetheless, I think the livery's cool. I think they could have done a lot more with the engine cover, and when you see the driver suits and helmets, I think they could have definitely done it a lot more. But it's okay. Like, I don't mind it. But the merch, Formula One, please find a way to reduce the prices, because oh my god. And I think Tomo made this point that Formula One merch at races, is so expensive. Oh my god. And people actually buy it. Like £120 for a cap. Mate, you can go to like Fuel for Fans or F1 store online, or CMC Motorsports in the US and Canada, Toronto Motorsports in Canada. You can go there. They have all these sales happening. You can buy stuff from there for like 50% off and stuff. Not the Adidas Y3 collection probably, but like your season merch, right? So yeah, weird how... have I spent money during a race weekend at a circuit buying merch there? Yes, I have. Guilty as charged. But was it the best decision? Nope, not at all. But yeah, so Mercedes have come up with this nice livery. Then moving on to Haas, the Godzilla-themed livery. I think it's a very cool concept. So Haas have partnered with Toho House for the season, actually, and I've done a reel on it, so check it out in YouTube Shorts. But they've done a very interesting collaboration with Toho House, who own Godzilla, the franchise. And yeah, you can see the Godzilla on the engine cover, sort of, screaming or whatever. I don't know, like letting its flames out and towards the driver's cockpit. And yeah, beautiful design on the side pod as well, with the different colors. The front wing is, front nose and wing are like blacked out, which is pretty cool. I think they could have done a slightly better job. I do really like it, don't get me wrong, but I think they could have done a bit more with it, purely because I think I saw some renders where it was like a dark looking Haas. And I think that's what Godzilla encapsulates, right? The dark theme, that aggressive They've stayed true to the colors, the white, red, and black, and obviously the white and red are Japanese as well, pays homage to the Japanese flag. But yeah, I think they could have done a bit more. But with Haas this weekend, I think it's going to be interesting because they've had a good start to the season. They look good. Ollie Behrman specifically looks very, very good. And, I think he's one to look out for this week's Grand Prix. But also, there's a lot of pressure on Esteban Ocon. And I think Ayo Komatsu has said it as well. Like, he needs to find a way to perform because either Ollie Behrman is just so good and he's able to extract so much from the Haas, and that's credit to him. Whereas Esteban might be operating at his peak, but Ollie's peak is just higher than Esteban's peak. Do you know what I mean? Because Esteban is so seasoned, and it's so hard to see someone who's so seasoned like under-deliver. But I hope for Esteban's sake, like I like Esteban Ocon. He's had a very good story in terms of coming into F1 from not having in like a lot to making it to Formula One. And he started, when did he race? He started in 2016 or 2015? 16. Yeah, 16 was his first full season with Manor. This is his 10th year in Formula One. Oh no, 9th year, because he had 1 year out in 2019. But nonetheless, highly regarded, but pressure's on for Esteban, because if he doesn't do well in the Haas this year, where does he go? Because Jack Doohan supposedly is pretty much, next in line at Haas. So let's see. But nonetheless, pretty good livery. And I think they would want to really do well in Japan, given their collaboration with Toyota. Toyota, I'm sure, want to outperform Honda, which probably they will, at Suzuka. Because Suzuka, the circuit, is owned by a Honda subsidiary. So how cool would it be if, let's say, Ollie Behrman and Ocon finish in the top 10 and the Aston Martin Hondas finish like, they're pretty much going to finish plumb last probably, or just like somewhere at the bottom. It'd be a good win for Toyota over Honda. So let's see. And the third livery is the beautiful, and I think out of the three, this is my favorite for the weekend, is the Racing Bulls. Cherry blossom season in Japan. Why not chuck it onto the car? But also the Red Bull can, the cherry can that's come out. This is what it essentially mirrors, right? And I think it's a very good design. It looks beautiful. The Racing Bulls livery is growing on me. I do prefer last year's Racing Bulls livery. I think that has to be one of the best liveries of all time. But this one, it's growing on me now, but I think I really like what they've done with this. So yeah, super pumped to see how they do. Liam Lawson had a very good finish, P7 in China. I think, Arvid Lindblad is also doing a great job. He's had a good start to the season. China was a little bit difficult. Had a couple of, he spun on literally the second last corner. I think turn 14 it was. But nonetheless, Lindblad, good start to the season. Lawson, it's a very important season for him, but I think he's done a very good job with what he had in China. So, getting points, you're doing a great job. So let's see. And let's get into the predictions now. And I'm so pumped for the predictions because this is my first time doing it on YouTube. And I'm pretty excited to see, all this templating come out. And I hope you guys like it. Chuck it down in the comments below. And the format I've gone with is obviously you have the podium, P1, P2, P3. Then I'm going to do rippers for the week, right? Like in Australia and in England, we say ripper, like, oh, ripper for bloke. Oh, that was a ripper drive, that kind of thing. And then shockers, that's self-explanatory. So for podium, P1, I've gone with Sir George Russell. Now, I think Russell is going to make a comeback. He had that technical issue in the car, or the mechanical, I think it was, and that sort of curtailed his Grand Prix. But and then he spent so much time with fighting Lewis and Charles that Kimi just went off into the distance. So I think George is going to have a great weekend again, and arguably they're so fast. Now the only thing that could curtail it is if FIA actually penalize Mercedes for the front wing, but I don't think that'll come out that quickly. So that's why I think George is going to be P1 and he's going to keep that championship lead after the race. Now, P2, one might say Kimi Antonelli, but I've gone for Charles Leclerc. So, I've gone for Leclerc because he's hungry. He wanted that podium in China, and fair play to Lewis. Great battle. Absolutely stunning battle. But now I really think Charles is going to come along pretty well. And obviously, the Ferraris were good in Australia. The only thing I would say is it would be... P2 is very optimistic. I am being pretty optimistic, but I think they might have a good chance in Japan. And Charles, he was good in China, but again, Lewis just had the better of him, and I'm sure he's very hungry to sort of claw back and get back on the podium. So I'm even saying P2. So let's see. And then P3, Kimi Antonelli. I think they'll have a good duel between themselves. Kimi I think it's going to be a role swap for George and Kimi for this weekend in comparison to China, where Kimi will be mainly battling the Ferraris and George is going to sail into the distance. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. So that would be good for Kimi. So that would be 3 podiums for Kimi to begin the year with, which plus a win. But that's kind of my podium. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If anyone else could come in, I think I would love to see a Pierre Gasly win, but I don't think that's happening anytime soon. Maybe after the development cycle sort of kicks off and takes shape, or Lewis Hamilton maybe. I don't know. I would love to see, but this is just what my gut's saying for the weekend. And let's talk about rippers. Who's gonna have a ripper drive this weekend? I truly think and believe with all my heart and soul, Max Verstappen's going to do it. I think he really loves Suzuka. Red Bull are bringing upgrades for the weekend, both for Max and Isaac Hadjar. I think Max is going to turn it up a little bit. Maybe, and a ripper for weekend, I think, would be, for Max to finish somewhere close to the podium. I don't know if a podium's really on the cards for Red Bull right now, but I think he's just gonna have a solid weekend altogether. And yeah, he was disgusted in China. He really did not like it, and I just hope that he just comes back, because a happy Verstappen is what we want to see. At least I want to see, being a Max guy. I know I've got Lewis helmets up there and Sainz and Norris cars over there, but trust me, I've got a lot of Max stuff over there as well. So you'll see this during my streams. I'll keep changing them for you guys as well. And let me know if there's a certain model you want to see. Or do you want me to do model reviews as well? Do let me know. I recently had not recently, a little while ago. That's Lewis's 2025 Ferrari helmet. That's Lewis's 2024 helmet. Again, both very significant in Formula 1 history. So yeah, I do collect, and let me know, even IndyCar actually. So yeah, so that's Max. And the Ripper team of the week, I think I touched on it earlier. I'm going to go with Haas. I think Haas have had a phenomenal start to the season. They've really warmed themselves up to the 2026 regs. They've got it, they understand it, and that is very critical, because again, that sort of sets them up for the trajectory. And constructors, right? Because at the end of the day, Formula 1 is a Constructors' Championship first and then Drivers' Championship second. Constructors is where the money's paid out. So you want to be in a position to do well. And if you start that early on, great. And Haas, I think the Godzilla theme, they have the Toyota partnership. Toyota, I'm sure, will want to prove, Honda wrong. Not wrong, but I guess outperform Honda, which they will likely do so, purely because Aston Martin are absolutely nowhere. But I think, yeah, Ollie Behrman's been on one. Great finish, P5 in China. Esteban Ocon P14, so he's got a lot of work to do. But I would keep my eyes on Ollie Behrman. If there's a chance, you never know. And I don't think it's supposed to rain for the weekend when I checked the weather last, but if it does, adds that jeopardy as well. But I just want a nice, clean Japanese Grand Prix. That's what I want. And add in one or two safety cars in the middle, get that stuff mixed up, get the strategy going on, overcut, undercut. That's what we want to see. We don't want to see a boring snooze fest as well. So a couple of safety cars would be muchly appreciated, given everything is safe, for sure. Okay, now into shockers. So, shocker of the week, I would say, driver-wise. Tomo, mate, hate to say it, but gotta go for Alex Albon. He's had a tough start. Williams in general have had a very tough start to the season. And Sainz has outperformed Albon in both races. I think, where did Sainz finish last? I think P9, right? And Albon didn't even start. So a couple of points for Sainz. Albon didn't even start. Albon was not happy in China. He was not happy in Australia. And I just don't know. I'm not seeing... even when you see Sainz drive the car, you can see he's able to extract just that little more. Not by a lot, but just that little more than Albon. So I think Albon's going to be on the receiving end of the shocker play this week. And shocker team, I have gone with... That's right, the papaya McLaren. McLaren have had a weird start to the season, I think. I did not expect McLaren to have such a start. Like, I'm kind of speechless, Like, you didn't expect it. You've won constructors, you've won the Drivers' Championship. Yes, a lot of efforts went into developing the 2025 car during the season, which means they couldn't have done much with... they had slightly lesser time with the 2026 car and regulations. But I don't know. I just didn't expect it to be like this. And for Oscar Piastri not to have completed a Grand Prix 2 races in for like a Constructors champion. Yeah, it's a bit odd. And it's just one of those things where I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. And Norris has been, a little bit... Again, the car's just not there for McLaren. So I think they're going to have another shocker over here in Japan. And I hope they prove me wrong. And then you guys could come back to this video and, take the mickey out of me. But yeah, I think McLaren are going to be on the back foot again. Just because Oscar has, as I said, I've done the same laps as Oscar this year. Nil point. And Oscar just really needs track time at the end. So is the third time lucky for Oscar? I don't know. So that is what I have come up with. My podium is going to be Russell, Leclerc, Antonelli. Rip of the week for the drivers is Max Verstappen. Team of the week is going to be Haas. Keep an eye out. I'm telling you right now. And shockers, I think, Albon and McLaren. Now, a few other things to keep an eye out for. One of them is how strong will Ferrari actually be in terms of challenging Mercedes. Now, I've said P2, so I hope so. But if that, Mercedes front wing controversy comes out and they actually take action, the FIA takes action, then yeah, I think this podium could be a double Ferrari podium, like 1 and 2 potentially, right? So, I don't know. That's something to keep an eye out for. Is Kimi Antonelli a genuine threat to Russell? I've said Kimi finishes P3. Can he win the race again in Japan? Does he have it to go back to back? If he goes back to back, that's a statement and a half, because Russell is primed for the Drivers' World Championship, right? And you would expect Russell to do that and just to walk away with it. But obviously Kimi's got a season under his belt. He understands Russell's driving style, his tactics and whatnot a little bit more. So let's see. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Antonelli can, we'll see. That's one of the things I'm very curious about. Another thing to look out for is, do the same problems persist for Verstappen and Hadjar at Red Bull? I've been a Red Bull guy ever since I started watching Formula One back in 2009 with Sebastian Vettel. I don't know. There was just something with the blue and the red, I think, and blue, red, and yellow. yeah, I'm a sucker for those colors. So yeah, I don't know if it's, yeah. Verstappen said he literally, the car was undrivable and that he can't even put a reference to it, which is like crazy. But what really caught out was he said every lap is like survival. You're just trying to make it from the start to the finish. So that's a little bit odd, right? Coming from a four-time world champion. So yeah, we'll have to see with that. And I think a couple of other things is Audi. We haven't spoken about Audi because Jonathan Wheatley has left Audi Formula One team immediately, and Mattia Binotto has taken his responsibility and his role as team principal. So very wild to see that story plan out. I did a video on it as well, so you can check it out. But yeah, Wheatley is going to go to Aston Martin, and Adrian Newey is going to step down from that role into a more of a technical role at Aston Martin. But Aston Martin are likely going to still be using this time as testing. Jonathan Wheatley cannot start at Aston Martin immediately because there's this gardening period that he has to go through. I don't know how long that's going to be, given it's so early on into his tenure with Audi, only 10 months in, and well, 2 races with Audi and then the rest with Sauber last year. It is very early right now for Wheatley to make this move. Again, I don't know the reasons. We'll have to see. We still haven't heard from him. But yeah, Audi's going to not have Jonathan Wheatley, their team principal, which is a bit of a shock. So, and it's weird because Audi have been doing so much better than Aston Martin. So very interesting, a wild piece of news 2 weeks in. 2 weeks in, 2 races into the season. But those are the things I would keep an eye out for. But yeah, so there you go. That is my predictions and my review for the Japanese Grand Prix this weekend in 2026. Now, what do we think? What are you looking out for? Drop in the comments below. What's your podium? What storyline are you most interested in? And do you like this new format that I'm trialing? I think it's pretty nice. I think definitely I can improve things on it a bit more. But yeah, slowly and surely I will evolve like I have with this. And I will be going live on YouTube for qualifying on Saturday, which is going to be Friday night, I think, in Canada. Yeah. And then the race is going to be, I think, either Sunday very early morning or Saturday night. So yeah, we'll be going live for those. And then also I'll be going live for qualifying and race for the IndyCar race in Barber Motorsport Park this weekend. I like IndyCar as well. Follow that. So if you guys are IndyCar fans or you just want to try out, join in for that as well. And yeah, I think we have, just over 30 minutes. I think I've waffled enough. And I will see you guys at the live stream. If not, then the post-race review. Appreciate you and super pumped for Suzuka. I hope you are too. Cheers.